You guys impressed me. However, my unique opportunity is so great, it's so freaking awesome, that I'm really gonna need you both to work for it.
And that brings us to Lucha Underground.
I guess it does.
I don't know how, but it does.
It opened with Son of Havoc versus Angelico. Speaking of birds, Evilise got a promo, and she was upset with tweets.
See, a great segue there, Vinny.
I'm glad I could help. And she was upset that all these people were on Twitter talking mess about Son of Havoc. She declared herself the baddest bitch in the building.
I love that Angelico here is a luchador, but he has no mask and he looks like Luke Rockhold.
There's a point he used a jumping knee strike. And Vampiro turns to Stryker, who is the biggest wrestling/combat sports nerd in the world, and says, "Who's that guy in UFC from Holland who used that move?"
He used to fight in Pride, he adds.
Yeah, Stryker has no idea what he's talking about. Vampiro says, "Used to fight in Pride." Long, awkward pause. Big guy. Did not help. They were able to eliminate Boss Rutan, but that was the best they could do.
It was an amazing television. This is a taped show, everybody. They could have done this commentary over again. But instead, Vampiro decided that he needed to know who this guy was. He couldn't remember. He didn't have nearly enough details. Stryker had no idea what he was talking about, and Vampiro would not let it go.
So my main takeaway from this show in particular, there's a big problem that Lucha Underground needs to fix. Their ring is way too squeaky.
I see.
That's all I can think about whenever anyone does anything. Somebody oil the damn ring. So they did 100 moves. The crowd liked it. And Son of Havoc was actually he was really the babyface of this match, if you're paying attention. He was on the verge of getting his first big win. And then Evilise jumped up in the apron, and they teased knocking her off several times. And finally, Havoc kicked Angelico off, and Angelico bonked into Evilise. And this meant Son of Havoc was distracted and then pinned with a roll-up. Because apparently Monday Night Raw is now on Lucha Underground.
You know, the only thing besides the finish that I really didn't like about this match, and this is a nitpick, but I don't care. If you're Havoc and you never win, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be a babyface, maybe I'm wrong, but the spot he does where he teases a tope, but instead he gets caught up in the ropes and he bounces back to the middle of the ring and he does his pose, and everybody cheers. It's sort of like, yes, it's unexpected that you bounce back into the middle of the ring, but if you've got the guy in perfect position to hit him with the tope, why don't you hit the guy with the tope? Because your spot here that you do, your spot where you were just showing off, makes you look like a goddamn idiot. Because you could have toped this guy to death, but instead you showed off and then you ended up losing. Therefore, you're an idiot.
I'm not sure if he's a babyface, but it doesn't really matter. Dario Cueto met with a mystery man in his office. Said it was someone who had not been seen since Aztec Warfare. Turns out it was Johnny Mundo. And Cueto said he wanted to let bygones be bygones. He put Mundo in a main event against Cage.
God bless Johnny Mundo. But this is a guy who lives in Los Angeles, and he has been auditioning for 1 million film roles, and he has even gotten some. And he is the worst actor on this entire show.
That is true.
It's amazing, really.
He called Cage a ham bone.
Yes, a ham bone.
Pentagon Jr. versus Famous B. Best part of this was the Pentagon hype video where he beat up ninjas and Muay Thai fighters and karate guys and judokas and everyone.
Pentagon Jr.'s video, if it had not been for that Kevin Owens versus Generico video that we saw in NXT, this would have been by far the best video of the week. And I'm pretty sure that at least today, Pentagon Jr. is my favorite wrestler in the whole world.
So this is your very rare Lucha Underground squash match. You don't do this a lot. And Pentagon killed this man, put him away with a wacky arm bar, and then after the match, he broke the dude's arm. And he cut a promo in Spanish, pledging allegiance to his master. And this crowd in Los Angeles, presumably most of them speak English, and most of them are presumably good people, but they loved this Spanish-speaking arm-breaking guy.
Well, that's right.
Like crazy.
I believe they were chanting.
Arms.
I believe they were chanting "Cero Miedo," which would be "Zero Fear," which is his catchphrase.
I see. Cueto was backstage with the key around his neck, talking to somebody off camera and saying a girl had come looking for him. So apparently Cueto is keeping somebody prisoner.
No.
For a long time.
I don't know if he's keeping someone prisoner or not, but this is whoever it was that she's looking for, and maybe it's a prisoner. He's had this key for a while, and they're playing it off like he's got some big, scary super monster that he's waiting to unleash. I couldn't tell if it was like he had this person prisoner or if this is the guy that runs the show.
That's possible, too.
I should probably watch it again.
Drago versus Aerostar. My favorite part of this match was Aerostar's hometown, which is the Cosmos.
Yeah, the entire Cosmos is his hometown.
Home of the Cosmos.
My favorite part of this match is these guys both come out, and the place is going crazy for them because Lucha Underground is getting very popular, at least among the hardcore audience. And so this is a brand new set of tapings. And so they're selling a lot of tickets, or they're filling the buildings. It's not like there's 10,000 people there. There's probably only like 300 or 400, however many people fit in there. But, I mean, they're selling out. There's no room for new people. Fans are showing up. They're into it, and they like everybody, and they recognize everybody. So place is just going crazy for Drago and Aerostar. And Vampiro notes, the fans are paying attention. And he adds, that's very rare in wrestling these days. I don't know why. It's just like, he's right. He's absolutely right. That's what happens when Raw is 3 hours. It is impossible to pay attention the entire time.
That is a fact.
So that's how Lucha Underground is selling themselves. The promotion where the fans actually pay attention.
That's right. So Stryker at one point apologized for using too many Harry Potter references. And I have mostly just I have learned to tone him out. Like, I hear him, but I don't listen. So they did 1,000 moves.
I was trying so hard to zone Matt Stryker out during this show, but he was still irritating me. And it wasn't until the main event when Johnny Mundo did this crazy dive over the post, and Matt Stryker screams GTFO at the top of his lungs. And I was so infuriated, I almost just shut the whole show off.
So Drago won with a running blockbuster that appeared to spike Aerostar into his head, and the two shook hands, and Aerostar raised Drago's hand.
Very good match.
Somebody was backstage working over a heavy bag when Mil Muerte's woman appeared, and she kissed him and told him to keep it a secret, because otherwise Mil would bury them both alive.
That's no good.
This poor guy, he's just sitting there minding his own business, getting a workout in. And then the woman kisses him and says, that since I have done that, you are at risk of death.
Oh, man.
Do you know who this was, by the way?
I forget.
A masked person.
It took me forever to figure out who Famous B was.
Didn't we figure that out last week?
I did figure it out here, but at the beginning it was like, who in the hell is this guy? I missed his entrance, and I didn't want to go back because it's on YouTube, and it was miserable trying to go backwards. So I just waited, thinking the announcers will surely tell me this man's name. And it was not until near the end of the match that they finally alerted me that this was Famous B.
I see.
It's very difficult on a show with no well, I guess they do have graphics, but no replays, nothing.
Yeah. Main event was, in fact, Johnny Mundo versus Cage. you've mentioned before about how you can't believe that I had forgotten Cage's appearance on Gut Check. And I don't know where this guy came from or where he trained or where he's been working. He's really good.
He was in WWE.
Oh, I guess that'll help.
Yeah.
Well, that helped. He fits in totally well. It was a very spot-heavy match. He hung in there totally fine. Missed a jumping moonsault at one point. And then King Cuerno was shown watching from the rafters. And after Mundo hit a giant dive, Cuerno came in ringside and he attacked Mundo for the DQ and whacked his leg into the post and whacked it with a chair over and over again. They see maybe a broken leg. And here, as you noted, he rang the bell. It sure seemed like a DQ. Cage didn't care. He was just moving off. But then Dario Cueto came out. He said, no. I'm not going to let Johnny Mundo's return end this way.
Now that we're friends, he said. Now that we're friends.
Yes. And he ordered the match restarted. So Mundo was pissed, but he has a great baby face. So he gave it a go on his one leg. And he rallied a bit, and he started throwing kicks, but then he threw a kick with his bad leg and hit the post. And Cage worked him over some more, and Mundo escaped a stretch muffler and kicked out of an F5, and then eventually Cage hit a wacky, modified downward spiral for the win. So there you go.
And what was great is, number one, they didn't give us another stupid disqualification like they do on Raw. It was almost like an FU to Raw that, hey, we're not going to give you 2 DQs in the main event in a row. We're actually going to give you a finish. And even though Mundo is one of their biggest stars, it was his turn to lose here to Brian Cage. And so what they did was they let him kick out of a whole bunch of moves, but finally there was one too many and he got pinned. It didn't hurt Johnny Mundo. It didn't hurt Cage. It didn't hurt anybody. And you still got a winner and a loser. So that was a great finish.
And the last segment, Cueto was on the phone in his office when there was a knock on the door. He told the person to go away, but the person shouted something and then came in. And Cueto hung up the phone. In walked Alberto El Patron.
That's right.
He said, that's my name, but you already knew that, and he winked and he smiled. And this, in like 6 seconds, was the best thing on the show.
Alberto Del Rio is there.
Yes.
I don't know for how long, but he's certainly there for now. So the one guy that is on 9,000 shows all at the same time, the luckiest guy in wrestling.
He has great timing.
He certainly does. So that was Lucha Underground, everybody, neck and neck with NXT. But NXT was the better show. But this one was also very, very good. So the Wednesday night wars continue with great shows. Great shows. Do this, Lucha Underground.
All right, then. Lucha Underground. Open with Alberto El Patron in Dario Cueto's office. Patron mentioned Cueto's secret key, but Cueto quickly changed the subject. And they spoke with great tension. They seemed to come to some sort of agreement, but honestly, I have no idea what it was, other than I guess he's going to wrestle here now. Argenis versus Phoenix. It was the usual parade of nonstop dives and wacky slams. Stryker was giving everyone a history lesson in AAA. Katharina came out to watch.
I don't know if I forgot or if Vamp forgot, which in a battle of memories would be a hell of a battle, I might add. But Katrina comes out and Vamp says, she's my fantasy. And all I thought was, wasn't Angela Fong the one that you've been drooling over for like the past 2 months? Did he forget who he was drooling over, or is he just drool over everybody?
Probably the latter.
You're probably right.
So, Phoenix won with a sitting tombstone, so I guess pile drivers are legal in Lucha Underground. They were teasing this tombstone spot, and I mentioned just the dreaded martinet.
That's right. Which
But
apparently is legal in Lucha Underground.
Spike anyone on their head you want to.
No.
And Katharina hit the ring, and she looked at Phoenix while she licked Argenis' face. Phoenix was quite naturally wigged out and got the hell out of the ring.
I love Vamp's commentary, which is him repeatedly saying, "Oh my God," and "brother."
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of him just not giving a fuck.
Oh, he gives a fuck in his own way.
I suppose. We then got a Mil Muertes video package that I'm pretty sure was directed by David Lynch. was seen to be a constant dream state. I wasn't sure if this was like something that actually happened or if it's just his fantasy. But he was walking through a hallway. He ran into Katharina. She tried to warn him about something, but he just grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. They showed her feet dangling as she looked at him calmly, being held up by the throat.
That's right. He lifted her into the air by her neck, and then he put her down, and she was nonplussed.
None the worse for wear.
Yeah. She was like, you lifted me by my neck.
Mm-hmm. Then he walked down a hallway. Chavo Guerrero was there, so he bounced Chavo back and forth between some walls and warned him that he would pay his debt next week. And that was that.
Doesn't sound good for Chavo.
Wasn't good here. Being bounced into walls sucks. Big Rick did a confessional. This was awesome. And there's no other company that could have done this and had it come out right. Because as we've mentioned, they make no illusion about being a live sporting event. So they can have guys do promos anywhere from any angle and it fits in with the theme of the show. So Big Rick is in fact in church.
That's right.
He's about to confess to the Lord. He says, "Forgive me, Father, for I am about to sin." And the whole time he is shot in silhouette. And he's speaking.
Doesn't he know you apologize after you sin?
Well, that's kind of the gimmick here, Brian.
No, he's apologizing in advance. Just sin and then apologize.
Asking for forgiveness for what he's about to do. So he talks about the three Judases who had betrayed him. The guys in his crew. He runs them down one by one and how he had brought them up from nothing and brought them to Lucha Underground and they had turned on him. He vowed his hands would not shed innocent blood, but it was time to go Old Testament. And the priest said something about how he could go in peace. I want to go to this church, by the way. So Rick leans into the light. This reveals his eye patch when they stuck the cigar in his eye. And he vowed that vengeance would be his. This was awesome.
I thought he should come back. There was a show a couple of weeks ago where they had King Cuerno in the crowd watching on. And I don't know why. I don't know if they were talking about Rick or what the deal was, but at first I was confused and I thought that it was Big Rick. And I thought, how about that? They burned his eyeball out, and now he's going to come back in a mask. But apparently they're just going to do the eye patch gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Son of Havoc came down to the ring for a promo. Last time he spoke, they dubbed in his voice, which is comical. I think they realized how it was too fake even for this show. And he just spoke. And he talked about how much he loved Evilise and how he'd finally gotten some competition for once. He dedicated this match to his woman. So it's Johnny Mundo versus Son of Havoc. For pure athleticism and flips and dives and other moves that only a small handful of guys in this business can do, this is one of the best matches I've seen all year. They did so much stuff. Like I say, the list of guys who can pull off these particular moves is very short. The flagpole press, big diving Rana, and the finish finally is back and forth the whole way. Mundo goes for a top rope Rana, but Havoc holds onto the ropes, and Mundo splats on the mat. Havoc feels he has the match won, and he begins to celebrate from the top rope. And Evilise is screaming her head off, do something, hit this man, win this match. But Havoc takes forever and ever and ever and ever. Finally, he goes for an enormous shooting star press. But Mundo got the knees up, then hit the end of the world for the win. Or end of the world for the win. And then King Cuerno came running in out of nowhere. He attacked Mundo and laid him out with a fireman's carry into a Michinoku driver.
Well, I'll do the good news and then the bad news. I'll do the bad news first, actually. A striker drives me absolutely out of my mind. I've mentioned this before, but it just feels like a guy who's just pandering to a small group of hardcore wrestling fans. Sweep the leg, Johnny, he screams at one point, a Karate Kid reference, which was actually a clever line, but because it's Stryker, it just drove me out of my mind. The guy just drives me crazy on commentary. With that said, the commentary in this match, from the second half to the end, was actually awesome. Because the match was so good that Stryker and Vampiro just started to mark out. They were so into this match, and they were going crazy. And sometimes Matt Striker fakes goes crazy, but him and Vamp were really going crazy here in the last, or at least they did a hell of a job pretending they were really going crazy. They were great for the last half of this match. This was a lot of fun.
We had Ricky Mandel versus Pentagon Jr. It was a squash match that went a little too long. And Pentagon won with the same arm lock he used last week, and the crowd, after one match, is already recognizing this. He sets it up very deliberately, scissoring the left arm, I guess, then bracing the other arm to crank on it, and then finally, after winning by submission, cranking it too far and breaking the dude's arm. And the crowd goes nuts when he breaks dude's arms, and Vampiro noted they had the most sadistic fans ever. And then Pentagon cut a promo, which Vampiro translated, saying that he had offered up another sacrifice to his master.
Not sure if I've mentioned yet, but Pentagon Jr. is my favorite wrestler these days. God damn, he's great. And yes, there is a bigger, scarier guy that Pentagon Jr. is praying to after he breaks everybody's arm. Maybe the same guy that Big Rick is praying to. I'm not sure.
You never know. The main event was the Alberto El Patron promo. He came out to the crowd. He had his AAA title with him, the Mega title. Is in fact what it's called. He celebrated with the fans.
I believe it's actually the Super Mega Heavyweight title.
It's
And
something ridiculous.
heavyweight is 2 words.
Only in AAA.
The AAA Super Mega Heavyweight title.
I'm sure it's quite heavy. So everyone was just going nuts, especially Stryker. Stryker marked out like never before. So Alberto said all the fans were his friends and family. Talked about his family legacy in the business and how he had been very successful as Dos Caras Jr., but then he needed to conquer the United States. That's where he became a household name. He began to speak in Spanish for a while, and everyone booed. I love that everyone in the crowd is also bilingual. So everyone understands everything. He began to talk about disrespect, claimed to be the first luchador to win every major championship in North America, which I suppose is true. He said in Lucha Underground, nobody was held back by the color of their skin. Only if they couldn't get the job done.
Wait a second. He said what about titles?
He claimed to be, and this is almost, I'm pretty sure this is word for word, the first luchador to win every major championship in North America.
Well, that's not true at all.
Well, what do you define as major?
Well, you should consider the TNA,
No.
the ROH.
You could call it a world title.
I mean, for fuck's sake, he's working for ROH. That he should consider that.
That's actually a solid point.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm pretty sure for most, if you're talking about North America, the biggest titles are the WWE
What about
title.
the AWA title?
The what now?
AWA, that's a major title.
2015.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. So, as he was ranting, Tejano Jr. jumped from behind and laid him out. And the announcers were pointing out this is his rival from AAA, and he's followed him here. And it sets up a natural opponent for Alberto's first match. All I know is that Alberto is a great promo, but more to the point, Alberto carries himself like a star better than anyone in this roster. And just as soon as he stepped on screen, the whole vibe changed. This felt like a major, major, major debut.
You know what's amazing about this Alberto Del Rio? We've mentioned before.
A lot, actually.
This is the luckiest guy in wrestling right now. But it's funny because he came out and he was so over. And he cut this amazing promo. And all I could think was, look at how amazing it is. WWE wanted a main event Hispanic superstar, and they fucked up Alberto Del Rio. Now, to be fair, the circumstances of Alberto Del Rio leaving WWE is what completely put him over the top among Hispanics. National hero, I would say, in Mexico, especially among wrestling fans. I don't know about the general public, but certainly among wrestling fans. He's a gigantic hero because of what went down in WWE, the circumstances of his departure. And without that happening, I mean, there's no guarantee that they could have got him over this big in WWE anyway. He wouldn't have been able to do passionate promos like this because this passionate promo was a result of what had happened to him in WWE. So really, him departing WWE was the best thing possible for his career.
Oh, yeah.
And if he returned to WWE next year as a returning, conquering Latino babyface, Hispanic babyface, fighting against this machine, and they played off what really happened, my God, what they would have with this guy. Now, I have zero confidence that they would be able to pull this off. I'm just saying, if you had a company that was capable of pulling this off, holy shit, that would be huge if he went back. But as it is right now, he's just going to have to go to every other show in the world and get super over and be a huge star and make a lot of money and just be the luckiest dude in wrestling. It's amazing.
So that's our show.
That was a great show. I'm talking about ours.
Yeah, I was too.
So anyway, let's do one last song here, and then we will wrap it up. We haven't heard from Craig in a while, so we'll celebrate his return.
It really, really is. Aerostar versus Drago. These guys, they get an A+ for creativity. They did a lot of stuff here I've never seen before. They don't always look pretty, but they try new things. They have like both guys be on the apron, and they do like running spots on the apron, and then dives into the ring. My favorite was actually they botched something in the corner, and to cover up the botch, they just started slapping each other in the head. Just a good old fight. And finally, Aerostar hit a sunset flip powerbomb to the floor, and then threw Drago inside, and a springboard splash for the win. And I've seen maybe 10,000 splashes for the win in my life.
This was the best.
And usually the guy lands on his hands and knees, and his opponent is underneath him. Aerostar hit this dude sternum to sternum.
Let me explain this to everybody. The easiest way to imagine this, if you didn't see this show, is to imagine the Usos. When the Usos go up to the top rope and they're going to do that big splash that they do, they jump in the air and they arch their backs as much as humanly possible. And then right before they hit, they do a normal big splash. Knees first, elbows first, and you protect the guy. So imagine that exact same splash, except instead of protecting their opponents, they stay arched and splayed out the entire time until they smash into their opponent to the degree that they don't even put their hands down to protect their own face.
Right.
So when he landed on him, he smashed him and then went face first into the mat afterwards with his momentum. And then he won.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
So they shook hands afterwards, and then Dario Cueto appeared. He said they had each beaten the other one time. So he was going to keep booking them against each other until somebody got 2 more wins. So essentially, it's a best-of-5 series, which is already 1-1. And they were both cool with this idea.
Good match.
It was a very good match.
Good action.
Had a fancy video package showing King Cuerno, and especially his big giant tope. They made this like it was the biggest dive in all the world.
Probably is, for all I know.
It's an awfully big dive. And the big key was he's drawn on the ropes in slow motion, and then they put like a camera on the floor outside the ring, and you see Cuerno dive through the ropes, flying through the air like a 747. It was very cool. Cage versus Prince Puma. The Lucha Underground champion versus the guy who's his biggest rival right now in the middle of the show. And by the end, because of all the assorted finishes, I understand why they did it, but God, it was weird. So their goal from the get-go appeared to be to have one of them die. Probably Puma, actually. They botched a diving run spot, and both fell down. So Puma's on the apron. I guess he had like one or both foot in the ropes, but he's essentially on the apron. And Cage hits him, and Puma, from standing on the apron, then takes a back bump, hits his back on the apron, and then falls straight down onto his head onto the floor. Holy God. This was quite scary. He came back. They had a very fun speed versus power match. I like where he tried to dive, and Cage caught him, curled him 5 or 6 times, and then threw him backwards over his head.
Did in fact curl him, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Should have done it in the squat rack.
That would be a heel move. So Puma hit all kinds of crazy dives, shooting star to the floor, springboard 450 back in the ring. And Cage puts him in the stretched muffler, which is his big submission hold. But then Conan returns, and his cheerleading inspires Puma to break the hold. But unfortunately, it also inspired Cage to hit a bunch of power bombs. Then a wacky faceplant move they called Weapon X. He starts laying in punches, and finally Conan can take no more, and he throws in the towel. This was not a title match, but they did say Cage would get a title shot down the road. It was a crazy fun match, very scary at points, but fun. And this finish actually protects Puma. Just like a ref stoppage. He never quit. Someone else quit for him.
Well, that's true, but the key to the match was it wasn't like he was crawling, and he was about to get the ropes, and Conan threw in the towel. I mean, he was on his back being beaten to death. He was dead and getting deader when Conan threw in the towel. So you're right, he was not pinned, he didn't submit, but he had the shit beaten out of him. Mm-hmm. And technically, this was complete destruction on the part of Cage.
At the end, yes.
They botched a lot of spots in this match, but with all that said, Cage is quite great, and Puma is quite amazing, and this was a hell of a match.
Backstage, Conan gave Puma kind of a pep talk, almost a lecture, really. He said he had done Puma a favor, and they still had a plan to execute. And Puma just looked at the towel and was pissed. Sexy Star went to Dario Cueto. She was upset that men were jumping into her matches to save her. She wanted to fight her own battles, including the crew, which is 3 men. She wanted to fight by herself. So Cueto's solution was, I'm going to put you in a match with Big Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner will then get to face the crew in a match with no interference. What in the hell?
I have no idea. I have been wondering what's going on with all of this for quite a while now. I don't get it. I don't get what their deal is with the man-on-woman violence. It's one thing if, like, I mean, if you want to do man versus woman, and they're both the same size, and they do a grappling battle, Sexy Star versus Big Rick?
For those of you who are not aware, that's Ezekiel Jackson.
And what's more amazing about it is she's inexplicably happy with the offer to face Rick.
I get to fight a man 3 times my own size and then fight 3 men if I win.
What?
This
sucked. And you know what? I'll bet the match sucks.
This is safe. I bet Sexy Star versus Big Rick is a styles clash.
I guess we'll find out, but I don't expect this to be very good.
Pentagon Jr. wrestled Vinny Massaro, who is not Vinny V, but it's a fine line.
Dude, when they said Vinny, I thought you were going to go out there. And then when I saw Vinny Massaro, I almost thought it was you.
We have a lot in common.
Dude, when you were wrestling, you guys were almost a spitting image, except your hair was longer. It was either longer or shorter. It was never quite this length, which is amazing because you were growing it out. And so
you would think at some point it must have been.
You would think it would be that length, but I don't think it was. Yeah, Vinny Massaro.
So, Pentagon won almost immediately with a scary brainbuster move.
How's nobody been killed in Lucha Underground yet?
That's actually a great question.
God, there were so many brutal, one after another on this show. And then he broke his arm by bending it the wrong way.
And he powerbombed him through a table. And it may have been the exact same hold that Becky Lynch used. But he put him in the wacky
I believe it was.
And he broke Vinny's arm, which I do not approve of.
I believe it was.
The crowd did approve. And they chanted no fear. They love this arm-breaking psychopath.
Dude, he's the best guy in the world.
He's the most bloodthirsty
He's my
crowd I've
favorite
ever
wrestler
seen.
right now.
Main event was King Cuerno versus Johnny Mundo. Johnny tonight, his cool stuff looked cool, but a lot of his stuff just looked bad. He's throwing like clotheslines like he's back on Tough Enough, and these goofy forearms.
You know the one that really bugged me of all things is when he was being Irish whipped and he would do a reversal, and there was nothing realistic at all about the reversal. It was he would leap in the air and pirouette and spin around the other way and toss the guy the other direction. I don't know. I don't like it. To me, it should be like you put on the brakes and you turn the guy around and you whip him. Like, pretend. I know it's impossible to pretend that a reversal of an Irish whip is real, but Johnny Mundo made it look really not real.
There's one where he missed a forearm in the corner, and it was very clear he was missing a forearm in the corner, but he jumped as high as he could, and he brought his arm down really hard on the turnbuckle.
What I did like was King Cuerno wears a deer head to the ring, which, by the way, if I ever wrestle again, I want to steal this gimmick and wear a deer head to the ring. So he puts it in the corner during the match. So during the whole match, there's a fucking deer watching.
Yes.
There's a deer that has somehow burrowed its way into a ring post and stuck its head out the top and is just overseeing the circumstances in the ring. So there's a deer head there, and Johnny Mundo is going to do some sort of spot off the top rope. And so he does a move, and he puts the guy down near the corner, and he goes to climb the ropes, and all of a sudden he notices, shit, there's a giant fucking deer head here in the corner. And so he goes and he picks King Cuerno back up, and he gives him another move so that he can set him up in another corner, because a gigantic deer head complete with antlers got in his way as a shoot.
Yeah.
That happened. How's nobody hit him with the antlers either?
I'm sure they'll build up to that. Someone to get legit gored. So they did the whole package earlier on King Cuerno's tope, and then finally he hits it here. He drives Johnny into the guardrail. Crowd's just going nuts for this. Announcers are going nuts for this. Johnny sells this like $1 million. He's limping. He's clutching his ribs. This tope killed him. And he stumbles all the way around the ring to the opposite side. And once he gets there, there's King Cuerno to hit the tope again. And he drives him back into the Spanish announce desk. Johnny is destroyed at this point. Cuerno is not much better off. And then he returns, Cuerno does, to the ring. He hits a third tope. The crowd, of course, loves him for all this. They love seeing this man hit these big giant dives. So he hits his third tope. Both men are down. They are struggling to their feet. The ref is counting. And then they get to their feet, and they look at each other, and they make no attempt to get back to the ring, and the ref just counts them out.
Count out.
That was dumb.
Bugged me because, I mean, if you're going to do a count out, fine. But Stryker's going on and on about how the ref is giving them a lot of leeway because we want to see this fight. And no sooner does he say those words than the referee counted him out.
Well, not just that. That's true, too, but it's not like they were fighting to get back in the ring or fighting each other so violently and passionately they didn't hear the referee or anything like that. They were just standing there eyeballing each other. And then once the ref counted them out, they went back to fighting again. And they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. They brawled up the stairway, which I know we see it all the time, but try that sometime. It's not easy. And they brawled over through
For all those times you've brawled up a stairway.
all those brawls I've had in stairways.
Yeah, it's been tough.
So they
mean streets in North Bend.
They brawled up the stairs, through the balcony, and then I guess went through a fence or something. It went a long time and bored me. But that was that. So some highs and lows on this episode of Lucha Underground.
You know, sometimes I watch something like this, and it's like, this just... I'm not going to say it's not my cup of tea, because the match actually was very, very good. I didn't like the finish, but it was a very good match. And the brawl afterwards, it was one of those deals where, all right, you're brawling in the crowd. Great. Oh, you're still brawling. Oh, wow. Still brawling. Nobody here to break you up. Just still brawling. But the crowd was going apeshit for this. The crowd... Man, I tried to make it through that. The crowd really, really liked this. They loved the match. They loved the post-match. They loved the brawl. So it was one of those days where I just got to say, what the hell do I know? This worked in the building, so good work, you guys.
Sure.
I presume it's building up to some sort of no DQ, hardcore, no holds barred, some sort of stip match I'm sure they're going to have. But, yeah, the crowd absolutely loved this, so way to go. And that was the end of the show.
That was the shows we watched today.
It was wild and it was different. I
That is for
enjoyed them
sure.
both.
Yeah.
I thought these were two good shows. All right, let's wrap it up with one more song here. And then, oh, you know what? Here's a good one. I believe this is a listener. This is for Granny, everybody.